Hey everyone, and welcome to the Legacy League's post-game report for the quarterfinals for the playoffs. Sponsored by Burns Tires. Amazing games tonight, huh?
Absolutely.
We had fantastic ones. So I'm going to start off with Court 1. Let's do a little Brotherhood Serial Killers. How'd that one play out, guys?
Well, surprisingly, Serial Killers they were up 4 points at half. We didn't know what was going to happen. The Brotherhood, that was probably their lowest scoring half in their history. And then Russ Payton came back in the second half, and they took care of business. They ended up with the 58-47 victory, moving on to the semifinals where they take on Goon Squad. I think Brotherhood, once they got Russ back, they really got into gear. Without him, you know, they couldn't really get a rhythm. They didn't know who to bring the ball up, who to put on the perimeter. And the Serial Killers really took advantage of that. But when he came back, it was a different story.
Yeah, I was really impressed as well. The Serial Killers look good. They had that 24-20 lead in the first half. The thing is, Tyron Coward couldn't hit anything from behind three. Adam Samuel took a lot of shots, really didn't go in many times. And then, like you said, Russ Payton comes in for the second half, drops 20 points. There's nothing more you can say. Brotherhood looks their normal selves when he comes in, when he's input in the rotation. And it's going to be a challenging one for the semifinals, Goon Squad, but we'll see what happens.
This has probably been the quietest game we've had from Michael Davis.
And Jabril.
Since he's been back. Yeah, so I'd like to see how those guys perform when they come back next week.
Absolutely. That's going to be an interesting rematch between Goon Squad and Brotherhood. All right, jumping to the next game on Court 1, Run TMC Sports Luck. How did that one play out? Upset alert or what?
It was an upset alert. However, I was correct. It was 60. What was it? It was an 84-66 Run TMC win. Reggie Stewart again takes over. He is undefeated this year, with and along with the Zacco brothers, reigning threes. They were a team tonight. They only had one person on the bench. One of their teammates got hurt in the first half. And they were really exhausted, but they kept the mentality up the whole game, and they really impressed me. Reggie Stewart obviously took over all over the ball and got their team to a victory.
33 points, 16 boards, 7 assists. What else can you say? And now they're on a 7-game win streak. They're as hot as any team in the league. If I was playing them, regardless of who I was, I'd be worried about it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The first time these teams met earlier in the season, Run TMC lost by double digits, and now they come back and they win by 20 plus. It's crazy to think that Reggie makes his team 30 points plus better. You know, it's remarkable how much he's shifted the whole offensive tempo of that team.
And they did the same thing to BS&B. I think not only is Reggie one of, if not their most talented player, he unlocks the rest of the role players' potential. You have the Zacco brothers, they hit at least 5 threes together tonight, and everyone else, he really facilitates, as Will alluded to, and unlocks everyone's ability, and that's really why they're clicking.
One thing I was disappointed in with the Sportsbook team is they got flustered with the calling, the ref calling and all that. In a league like this, you can't get frustrated with refs calling bad plays or whatnot. If they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You got to forget about it, move on, and keep playing. And Sportsbook really got this in the back of their heads and couldn't drop it. And that's one reason why they lost tonight.
You see, I think the teams that are left are the teams with the most mental fortitude, persevere through all these different challenges, and I think we might be left with the best 4 teams at the end of it.
Agreed. Run TMC is definitely a scary team coming along. All right, jumping to No Limit Kakambas.
Yeah,
I know that was a good one.
I know this was. I don't know how many of us actually really saw it being this close. I know that we talked about this perhaps being a trap game for No Limit, and you know, with John rolling out, which was a tough loss, No Limit really had to play some gritty basketball. And Terrell Vargas had a very rough first half. He finished the first half with just 9 points, shot pretty poor from the field. But that team in the second half, they just sort of kept grinding away. The Kakambas kept it close. Actually came right down to the wire. Ronte Bird, who we've been, you know, a little bit harsh on in this season, he had a huge game-winning 3 down the stretch. After Chris Aaron hit a 3 to tie it, Ronte came right back with less than 5 seconds left, drills a big 3 to put him up. It was exciting. We had some great games on Court 2 tonight. Probably 2 of the best games we've seen all season.
Agreed. And jumping to the next one. How was that? How did Goon Squad Temptations?
So Goon Squad Temptations, we know they played in Week 9. It was a great game. They battled for that last seed. the last bye, I should say, for the 4 seed. And this was the 5-4 matchup. It's hard to call Goon Squad winning an upset, but the 5 beat the 4. But this game was incredible. It was everything you'd ask for. It was back and forth. Goon Squad was down the whole game up until a minute left in regulation. They end up tying the game, pushing it to overtime. Overtime turns to double overtime. Double overtime turns to triple overtime. And eventually you get Goon Squad to pull away. It was great basketball. It was fun to watch.
Unbelievable. Just tons of Legacy League
Absolutely.
basketball. You can't get enough of it. You really can't get enough of it.
As we watched the end of that game, it's hard to think Matt Marconi might not be in the MVP because maybe they're not the best overall team, but what would they be without him?
Unbelievable. All right, we do have a comment here from John Rulin. Brotherhood looked a little shaky. What do we think?
They did look a little shaky. I think Eric and I talked about it. Their first half, it did not look like the normal Brotherhood that we've seen throughout the weeks. But when Russ Payne was injected into this lineup, they were back to their normal selves, and they played Brotherhood basketball. So they looked shaky at first, but I look to see them being very powerful in the next game when they play Goon Squad, which is going to be a big one. But Goon Squad does have Matt Del Monte back, and that's going to be a big game. But with Russ Payne playing the whole game, I look to see Brotherhood looking to go back into the finals.
All year, Goon Squad has played to the ability of the team they're matched up against. So just as we saw the Brotherhood Goon Squad their first matchup, it was probably the closest game they had all year. They fought tooth and nail. So I do think that's definitely an upset candidate. They're one of the grittiest teams out there, and if you have a weakness, they will exploit it.
So I think that one of the biggest points that both Goon Squad and Brotherhood have to keep in mind for their rematch is that whichever team stays level-headed and keeps their composure, I think, is going to be the team that wins. These teams, a little bit of bad blood from their first matchup we all know about. We don't have to get into it. But I think that whichever team can sort of keep a level head, not argue too much, limit technical fouls, silly fouls, sort of play their brand of basketball without getting too worked up, without letting the other team get under their skin. I really do think that if any team matches up well enough to beat the Brotherhood, it is the Goon Squad. So I think this game is going to be exciting. Obviously, never lost, but if there's ever a time for an upset, this is a great time for it.
It might be this time. I have another comment from the Brotherhood's Kevin Rivera. Will, your pants are looking a little shaky. What's up?
Because I'm not wearing a belt, Kevin.
belt.
I'm sorry you called me out, but I do not care. I still look good.
All right, guys. Follow us on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. You know where to find us. All the great stuff for Legacy Leagues. Thanks for joining us. Guys, any last words?
Yeah, just stay posted for the times for the semifinals games. They're going to be determined. We'll get back to you guys with that as soon as we know. Like we said, it's going to be Goon Squad, Brotherhood, and then No Limit versus Run TMC.
So one of these 4 teams is going to be hosting the trophy. Any predictions?
Oof. I mean, seeing Run TMC do what they did, the sports look. I mean, I have to go Run TMC Brotherhood matchup, possibly. What do you think, Will?
I'm bringing No Limit all the way to holding this chip in their hands. I look to see the 3-headed monster bounce back and get this finals victory.
All right, well, for the sake of parity, let's go Goon Squad. Let's all pick different teams. You gonna stick with Brotherhood?
No, I think tonight Goon Squad showed they were an extremely resilient team, and what a Cinderella it would be if they pull it off. So that's what I'm going with.
Run TMC, all right, that's it. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week on Tuesday. Take it easy.